Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And yesterday, we hit that magic 190 district progress for the new tourism district, which means that we have access to gear enchantment now, which is going to be pretty impactful for more so endgame players, the Valor Cup, and people who really want to sweat in Jubilee. So I want to lead this video off with the disclaimer that one, if you're a new player, you're not going to have access to this for a long time. And I also wouldn't really worry about it that much. We've been playing the game for 2.5 years with the same kind of gear, and now it's finally changing. We've done just fine up until this point. So unless you are going to try and be really sweaty in Jubilee or Valor Cup, this, is a nice quality of life thing, but otherwise it doesn't make that much of an impact. So don't feel like you need to rush your population to get the tourism district unlocked, which takes quite a bit of population requirement to even do so, and materials to actually awaken the stuff, because as we'll go over today, you do need a few things to do this before you can even attempt to get your gear enchanted. So if you're a new player, don't worry about it. This is a nice thing in the future when you get to that level of end game point. But for now, continue on, make your gear, make it usable for a lot of people, and move on with your day. But with that said, first off, once you get to level 4 or 5 of the information building, you now have access to build this new weapon magicubicite dig site. And as you progress further, you'll have access to build the other two options. But this will passively give you the new material that is required to enchant gear. Now, everybody received 100 of each type for free on Thursday when logging in because of the new release. So that's cool. And if you haven't gotten there yet, then you'll have a nice stockpile to build up to and then enchant when you get access to it. But looks like every day in 8 hours we get a guaranteed one with a small chance of getting two, and it's nice that we have a passive way to get it. Another way to get it is from the Tower of Isis shop. So they've added in discounted ones that update every so often, and then they've added full price ones. So this, these reset in 18 hours. You can buy, I think, 25 of them for 20 coins, and then you can buy an unlimited number for 40. And this is very nice because right now, the only thing I buy in Tower of Isis is the weekly octagram emblem, sometimes the flames, and potions. So, I've got a lot of tower potions saved up for Tower of Isis. This gives me a new reason to grind the crap out of it so I can buy out a lot of these so I can start enchanting a lot of gear. And it's very nice that they gave us a pretty much a free way to get this stuff instead of being weighted or locking it behind missions. It's just play Tower of Isis, exchange it. It makes it super simple and super easy going. So I really like it about that. Once you get to that 190 progress, a small cutscene will play and it will unlock the enchantment button underneath your forge. So forge, enhance, and enchantment. And here you can enchant any gear that is awakened. So you can see that these 5-star weapons, 3-star weapons down here, you cannot enchant them. You can only do it to awakened pieces of gear, which again is why it's going to not be super friendly for new game players because they're not going to have the materials to even do this. So again, don't worry about it. But there are, pieces of gear that are going to really benefit from enchantment. You can do it for all 3 types, and the typings of what will be enchanted will be different. So applied list. So here we have an overview. There's a forge rate, so super rare chance is a 10% rate up. There's 3 different slots, and you can see in this little table that there are a number of different substats that pieces of gear can have. Weapons can now have attack, synergy power, crit damage, pierce power at high levels, medium levels, and low levels. Jackets can have defensive options, so defense, counterattack rate, crit resistance, pierce resistance, and then the HP items will have other things too. HP, stun evasion, poison evasion, binding evasion. So these are things that can really be taken advantage of. But let's just go ahead and let's forge something right now. I've already done it for Milim's katana, but we'll go through the process of it right now. So we have a unique piece of gear for Shizu. This weapon is only going to be used for Shizu, so I don't need to worry about switching it off for somebody else. But you can see it takes 10,000 gold, one of the magic ores, and 10 of the new magic cubicite bullshit items. So it's not cheap, and you will have to buy a lot of these if you plan on doing it to a lot of pieces of gear, but again, at least you can farm it up for free, essentially. So if we enchant this, we first have to choose whether it's going to be on a physical character or a magic character, and that will determine how you activate whatever the substats are going to be. So if you choose physical, and you roll all this stuff, and you put it on a magic character, it's not going to do anything. You have to specify what you want it to be on. So this is just another level of making specific gear for specific people. So since this is a soul weapon for a magic Shizu, we're going to choose magic. And it's going to take these resources. So we do this, and what do we get out of it? All right, so we have 3 options now that we can pick from. 3 different levels of substats. So here we have synergy power, guard penetration, guard penetration. Not really that great. Here, counter power, attack, and synergy power, also not that great. Pierce power, counter power. That's okay, but you got to remember what Shizu is trying to do is either she's on the Overlord team, which is crit focused, or she's on a supporting role. So we would benefit more from just straight up attack. So we can try this again. And it's going to take the same amount of materials. It's not going to cost extra the more you reroll. But one thing to note is, and let's just choose this one for now. One thing is now our massive success rate up here will go up. And this kind of pity for enchanting carries across all 3 of the items. It's shared. So if you roll a lot on this, and this goes up to like 100%, you can either guarantee yourself you're going to get a massive success on this axe, or you can move over to some HP stuff and do it for that. And then it'll reset every time you get a massive success. So that is nice that the pity carries over, and it allows you to guarantee you get something good. But let's go ahead and try and enchant this again for better substats and see if we can get a massive enchantment. Okay, so we got 2 rainbows here. All right, what's this? Crit damage, attack, and crit damage. That is a very good piece of gear because, again, if you're on the Overlord team, Irons is giving everybody guaranteed crits. So crit damage, and attack, this is a very powerful piece right here. But I don't have to pick this one. You could pick this one if you want. Attack, crit damage, and guard penetration. Or you could choose this one. Or you could just re-roll it again. That's entirely up to you, and it's based on what you want to do. So we're going to change it to this one, because that's actually a very good piece of gear, and I'm going to keep that. So now, when I have this weapon equipped to a magic character, even if it's not Shizu, they will get 3% crit damage, 12% crit damage, 5% attack. And it will vary. We chose magic. You could have chosen physical, and it would have been on a physical character. But we can always come back and re-roll it. Like, the option is still there, and it's still the same cost, which is very, very nice. For Milim's katana, I have rolled attack, crit damage, and crit damage. Why? Because this is a Valor Cup katana. I want this physical Milim to do a lot of crit and attack in Valor Cup underneath Protector Shion, who gives people guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy. So this is a very good piece of gear, and when equipped by a physical character, because Milim is physical. So that's the difference. It takes the same amount to do a katana versus an axe versus a book. One thing to note is that the free-to-play characters, instead of using the magic ore, they're going to take this enchantment crystal, which we currently don't have access to. I don't know where to get this. It's not been mentioned anywhere in the news or items that you can pick up from something. So they will distribute these somehow, some way in the future to be determined. And that's for all the free-to-play unit gear. So Diablo, Tsubasa, Cleash, Ranga, they're all going to take that. But any other piece of gear that you can make normally will just take the magic ore. So that is very cool. Alright, since we're on the topic of Shizu, let's do it for Shizu's jacket, because it's, again, a unique piece of gear to only her, so I'm only going to use it on her. It's going to take 10 of the purple armor pieces now, and one thing in 10,000 gold. So the same cost. Still going to choose the magic character because Shizu is magic. And we'll hit yes. And what do we roll here? What's this? Counterattack resistance, counterattack rate, and defense. Alright, yeah, that's not really that great. So let's try again. We're now up to a 14% massive success. It goes up every time we don't hit a massive. So now we're at 19. Guard power, defense, counterattack rate. I'm thinking that for Shizu, I would want mostly defense. So if we can get like 2 or 3 of these rainbow defenses, that'd be very, very nice. But let's try again. We have, 2 more attempts after this. Maybe we get a massive? No. Okay, yeah, let's try again. We're up to 24% now. And we have one more time after this before I have to buy more. Hopefully we can get something good here. All right, here's the massive success. And we get... let's see. Defense, pierce resistance versus defense, pierce resistance, and guard power. So this pierce resistance, it's going to be very, very situational and when you're actually going to need this type of defense right here because, a lot of bosses don't pierce. Sometimes they do. They do it naturally. A lot of bosses don't give themselves guaranteed chances to pierce, though. So this is only going to be useful maybe in Valor Cup when you're fighting a team that is guaranteed to pierce, which is why I think that going more defense heavy is going to be a better option. So we have 13% defense and pierce resistance here versus guard power. I don't care about that too much. So I'm actually going to choose this one, 13% defense, because it will help her survive longer and longer. So there we go. And now you can tell we have, a rainbow and two silvers, a rainbow and 2 silvers. Milim has defense, and guard power. Fairly good for Valor Cup. So, this is pretty cool. You can re-roll it infinitely if you want, if you don't like anything. See, our massive success counter went down because we were at, 24% or something, and we hit that massive. It's been reset. So every time you hit that, it does reset. But, we got... okay rolls out of that one. They're not perfect. But if we go over to my HP stuff, we can see that I got triple rainbows on this because we got the full 15% HPs on this piece of gear, which is great. Except that I want poison evasion on this. Like this one. I want poison evasion, poison evasion, poison evasion, because this gear is meant for poison evasion. This piece, these stats right here would have been much better served on the Valor Cup bracelets or something, or my normal stun bracelets, because I use those very generically. So sometimes the rolls can not go the way you want, but it's kind of hard to give up a triple rainbow, right? So you're going to have to make the decision on, do I want to keep this? Do I want to make another piece of gear and use this as a generic thing now? It's really up to you and your playstyle and your gear and your materials that you can use to make gear. All right, so the last thing before I end the video, because I believe I've covered everything that you need to talk about for now. So we have Summer Milim with her Valor gear that has been enchanted. And so these buffs that we get from the pieces of gear itself, right? The crit damage, and synergy power, these are added to the character's unique status. So they're natural chances to do things. So their crit rate 2%. So sometimes you hit crit, sometimes you pierce, sometimes you don't. This is added to these stats. So we just have now a passive 23% crit damage, which is pretty cool, right? It's the natural 6 or whatever percentage plus more. That means it's not affected by Drago. It will not show up in the middle of a battle where you can see that you have an extra 23% chance crit, so you can't affect that with other things. You can always add to it with other skills. So if we were to, take Milim and we used Warrior's Mind Violet, wherever she is, for her physical allies crit damage, they will stack up because they're considered 2 different things, right? This is a temporary skill-based buff versus that Milim's now, quote-unquote, passive or unique 23% chance to crit. So this would technically be a 63% chance or crit damage right here now because of adding the 2 together. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It is not counted as part of a skill. It is just now part of the unit. And if we take it off, then that 23% will go down. So that is something to keep in mind, along with the extra defense stuff. So let's see. The HP, let's see, defense gear, right? Guard rate, we have what, extra defense on this? I can't remember what it does. Defense, and guard power. Okay. So these are all going to be passive, unique things related to the character that the gear is associated to. But remember, if I were to take this physical items off and put them on a magic character, none of this stuff would activate. So you have to make the decision on if you want physical or magic gear. And you have to remember to put it on those physical or magic characters to get the most out of what you're doing with new enchantments. But I think that about covers it. We've covered the process of how to unlock it, the materials required, the actual, enchanting of gear itself. So I think we're going to end the video. If you have other questions, please put them in the comments below. Again, please don't feel the need to rush this. These buffs do look very, very cool, but you must hit, population requirements, building requirements, gear requirements, material requirements. This is not stuff for early game players. This is for end game players who want to try a little bit harder. And again, we've been doing this with normal unenchanted gear for 2.5 years, and we've been going just fine. So you will be fine with normal gear without the enchantments. All right? Don't feel like you need to rush it, okay? But again, let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.